Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I am Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. And today we have Hunt in the Gulag. So, for those of you just tuning in, creepypasta are short internet stories that get copied and pasted across the internet. Go Google them; they're pretty cool to read sometimes. Boom. So we're doing Hunt in the Gulag, which is on Creepypasta.wiki. It's by BlackPersephone, and it's actually September's pasta of the month. And by the time this gets posted, it'll be October. So hey, continuity, what a show! Anyway, continuity, yes.
I don't understand why that has to do with him.
Whatever.
We have delay between record and between post.
So,
And for all they know, this is October.
what?
He's full your fucking mind.
So you can tell Dr. Leviathan's already getting into the story. So the story is about this woman who's narrating the whole thing, seemingly in her head, and is a prisoner at a gulag, or like a work camp, in Russia, whose only crime was speaking out about the government and having a friend, in quotes, squeal on her. She's stuck there for 10 years as punishment, and we start the story with her leaving her work shift later than usual, passing the terminal prisoners called, here we go, Dakhodyaga, or the Goners, and going for her dinner meal, and before heading back to their shack and just sitting there for the night. Eventually she goes out for some air and has a conversation with some girls, or some other girls there, and then they hear like screams and stuff as the gangs of the brutal criminal men have broken over to the women's section and are beginning to pillage and rape that with whoever they can. The guards don't seem to want to help, or just holding off, so her and the others hold up in their shack and fortify it as best they can. The gangs are heard long into the night, practically, just going after other places, finding unfortunate souls, and just doing horrible things. They batter on their shack, but luckily the defenses hold for the night. And yeah, there's just a mayhem and atrocities being heard, and these people just sitting in this shack not sure what's going to happen to them. Eventually the guards come down and rally the gang back to wherever they're supposed to be, leaving the dead to be gathered and buried by the next day by the survivors. The next morning, she and the others do just that, and she sees a French girl who she helped not too long ago, and she finds didn't survive the night. The story ends with the narrator having survived 6 months of this so far, and bitterly plans to cling to life for the next 9 years and 6 months, 1 hour at a time. So that's pretty much the story.
When the life expectancy of someone gulags.
Yeah, yes. Sorry, I forgot to add.
Yeah, because that's kind of the big downer at the end, is that just 9 months, or 9 years, 6 months, 9 years, 6 months, 9 years, 6 months. So what if I'm only going to last 2 years? 9 years, 6 months.
I'm not going to die this hour, and then I won't die the next hour. Yeah, pretty grim and dark. So my initial thoughts with this one, it's done in the first person, and I feel like it actually worked for the story, like as a device to get the reader in and like just into this like work camp hellscape, kind of to get you into the shit kind of thing. There were some issues I had with it though, because I was getting stuck or like losing focus in parts because I wasn't quite sure if the past tense and the like present tense were I wasn't sure if if the tense were right or not, because sometimes there would be like things had happened and then things were happening. So I don't know, it maybe just be like I don't read enough first person perspective, but there was a couple of times where I was getting stuck, or like it was a bit of a slog to read through. Felt like there was going to be something more going on with the goners at the beginning.
Yeah.
My head in a cannon initially went like, oh, there's going to be something weird or paranormal or something like that. And then nothing happens. It just turns out they're just set pieces for this.
It was to set the mood.
Yeah. I realized that, yeah.
It wasn't a foreshadowing or a red herring or anything. They were just to
set piece.
set the mood of depression.
Yeah. Yeah, and it actually, like, by the end, like, I didn't hate that. Like, when I realized, like, that was really what they were, it's like, oh, no, that actually makes, that works.
Seriously, what do we need? Another fucking zombie?
Exactly, yeah.
Not that we get a lot, but in general, yes, we do.
Yeah. This story also left me, like, kind of with a more of a sad, haunted kind of, like, feeling to it. Like, didn't really feel creeped out, but just kind of felt, like, really kind of dark. Like, it's like, oh, this is really sad. Because I've read enough about gulags that I know this kind of shit kind of happened. And it probably might still be happening, who knows? Really dark, really bleak kind of creepypasta. And it's one that doesn't really use any monster to give you dread other than human horror. So I kind of liked it for that. It's kind of refreshing based off some of the creepypastas we've done in the show, but otherwise it's a kind of more historical, depressing creepypasta. So that's what I have for the my thoughts on this one. Mikey, the E stands for evil. You've been on the show. What's those quotes?
I'm going to start with nitpicks.
Yeah, because there were
a
few times I was like, Mikey, he stands for evil, is going to handle this. He stands for evil, has got this. Not that they were like they were there, but I was like, eh.
Yeah.
And thinking back, I can't remember where any of them are. So anywho, go ahead, Mike.
So here's an example where really a shortened word would have worked better.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them were raving and wailing incoherently, while others were dazed and night-blind, arms stretched out as they continually bumped into everything in their pathways.
In their paths?
Or path, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just...
There were
Technically, they didn't use the wrong word, but they did.
Yeah.
But like some streamlining would have helped there. Yeah.
Extra word. Their movement swaying about in a melancholy and eerie motion in nearby.
Yeah.
So, obviously in there is the wrong one. And then the talk of soup. We have a paragraph where she explains the soup.
Yeah.
And then we get a paragraph where she is talking about the guards and then getting in line.
Yeah.
And all that. And then at the end of that paragraph, that doesn't mention soup at all, until the very end it says, oh, soup!
Yeah.
Which
it kind of
should have been...
It shouldn't have been so happy.
Yeah.
First off.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, soup! It's like, first things first, you got in the line, you're not surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was more to, show like, oh, I'm already at the front of the line. But it's completely out of place for the rest of the story because it's happy.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, soup. And I mean, maybe that's just us reading it happily.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, it probably is probably the best part about that Gulag is like, oh, you get food. But, yeah, otherwise, like, you're in the shit for 10 years.
You're in the shit even when you've got food.
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing good about gulags.
Okay. So my next one, and this is a quiz question.
Oh.
What is Stalin's first name?
Oh, god damn it. I knew this.
Is it Alexander?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know.
It's in the story.
Is it?
Yes. Joseph.
Yes. As soon as you bring it, yeah, exactly. As soon as you say it, like, yep, Joseph Stalin.
Yep, now I feel like a retard.
God damn it. Thank you, Mikey. The stands for evil. You truly are evil. So, where was that?
At one
That
point,
was brought up.
they say NKVD D can go fuck themselves and Joseph.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense, but if you don't know Stalin's first name and who she's referencing, you're like, who's Joseph?
See, yeah.
Yeah, you see, I didn't have that because I'm not a retard. I'm reading a story about, basically a day in the life of a gulag, and I'm reading that, and I'm looking for Stalin, basically. I mean, I'm not looking for him, but I know he's coming,
He's somewhere. He's there somewhere.
Like, I'm ready to take note when I catch it, and actually, yeah, I did catch that, and it didn't even give me any pause when I was reading it, just because, you know what? I'm reading a story about a gulag. Yeah, you didn't use Stalin, you used Joseph, but at the same time, if you're reading this story, you know who the fuck Joe Stalin.
Yeah.
So, that nitpick is too extreme for me.
For you.
Well, no, I genuinely don't. I genuinely don't think it's a real concern, because if you don't know who Stalin, probably are a story, unless you're us.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know Stalin, and by we all, I mean you and me. Cultists, probably. All
right, fair enough.
Sometimes you don't know shit, and it surprises me.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I had to look up what the NKVD is, because acronyms aren't helpful. Like, it helped at the beginning when she explained what the goners were.
When it's a different country and
Yeah. Well, with a different language.
That's also true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't write down the Russian, but the translation is People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs, which is essentially the police of the USSR.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that dressed up because the USSR are big about things that sound like they're helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Next, I'm going to talk about the historical stuff that I looked up, but I'm not claiming to be a historical person, so take anything I say with a grain of salt. But when they're talking about the female criminals versus the female political prisoners, and in the story it said, oh, well, they don't really pay much attention to you. Well, that might be true after 6 months, but when you're fresh there, they're brutal.
Oh yeah, it's like any prison. Like,
well, yeah, they take
No.
Gulags are worse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I figured I knew they were worse. I just, but like prison, like getting the fresh guy, like hosing the fresh guy, and doing that kind of shit to them. Yeah, like
no,
it's
this
even
isn't
worse.
a hazing.
It's worse. Okay, wow.
This makes that look like a hazing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Continue,
like the basic example was that if they wanted your panties, they were taking them. So anything that you had,
You were not
that you cherished or thought was good, was gone if they liked it.
Yeah.
And then I tried to find an example of what happened in the story with the males breaking into essentially the female section. What I found was an example that was on a Gulag boat, where the males and females were in different holds. The males got a hold of a pickaxe, and they tore down the wall into the other hold, and then there was a gang rape.
Yeah.
And in that instance, the basic reason why the guards didn't come is because they're probably told, keep the whole doors locked until you get to the next location.
Yeah. Because otherwise you might they might overtake the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. I actually did read, when I was reading the comments of this one, I saw that the author, BlackPersephone, was actually commenting about and saying that, like, she was inspired. She was using, like, some historical accounts and being inspired by others. So, for most of this. So.
Yeah, so it might have been the inspiration from the ship, but putting it in a barracks.
Yeah, putting it on land, essentially.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all I've got from that.
All right.
Because it's historical fiction. I was expecting something creepy,
so was I.
supernatural, or something but it, like...
It's just a dark, bleak, like, real horror.
Yeah.
More than the supernatural stuff that we're used to on the show.
Yeah, honestly, that I just don't know what to say about this, really. I mean...
Did you enjoy reading it?
No, but I hate these kind of things. I've never watched Schindler's List.
Okay.
Not because I think it's a bad movie or anything, but
You
because
don't like...
I have zero interest in historical fiction or things based on real events.
Okay.
I don't like just that whole era of history. I learned about it in history class, and I got fucking done with it. I'm not saying that it wasn't horrible. I'm not saying that, these stories shouldn't be written and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
I just don't fucking care. And it's not that I don't care about what happened, it's that I don't care to read it.
Yeah.
I don't care to watch it. It happened, it sucked, it was fucking horrible. I, for one, would like to acknowledge its existence, but move on with my fucking life. Granted, I live in Canada as a, white male, so I didn't really have to deal with anything like this.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've, in a time of peace, relative peace, not with war, or, hell, we don't really have to deal with the Cold War as much as...
No, it was basically over by the time you and
yeah.
I were like, well, I was alive for a few years, but
Yeah.
I still wasn't fucking doing anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can understand, like, if you're not interested in, like, reading historical fiction, that it's not going to interest you. But that is, like, one option, that's one opinion, though. Like, there are, like, other people who, like, I didn't mind reading it.
Exactly, I'm not condemning the story.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is not something that I ever wanted to read, and I kind of curse you for making me read it.
Fair enough. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't expecting this when I pulled up Creepypasta of the Month.
This is a really shitty example of a pasta of the month.
Yeah,
Pasta of the month shouldn't be an outlier like this. It should be a prime example of a good creepypasta.
Yeah.
And not that this is horribly written or anything like that.
No.
I mean, there were a few nitpicks that I came across when I was reading it, but like I said, I can't remember where where they were, so I can't find them again.
Yeah.
So in general, competently written, but other than that, like, it's a good story.
But it doesn't really fit.
But it's not a
creepypasta.
creepypasta.
Yeah.
That would be like, it's just
like, it's a dark story, but it's not a creepy story. Like,
there's nothing creepy about this. Sure, there are horrible things happening, but there's nothing creepy. Like, the creepiest thing is when they throw a dead body repeatedly against the wall and throughout the night.
Yeah.
Just because they can.
Yeah.
And again, not trying to belittle, what went on in a gulag, but yeah, it's horrible, but it's not creepy, it's not scary, there's no horror involved.
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
And I also kind of feel like the title is a little deceiving, like, in terms of when it's put in Creepypasta.wiki, because it's like, hunting the gulag, it's like, oh man, it's a gulag, we're hunting a monster. And then you read it, it's like, no.
Yeah,
it's a hunt in a gulag.
I genuinely felt like it was going to be like an old shut down, non-existent, or
functioning,
not in use gulag, and people in present day are going in to hunt something that the people who got released, anyone ever got from gulag, told stories about while they were there.
Yeah.
Like, and it hunted and took and it ate the prisoners, but then they go in now and they're trying to hunt the monster that's there. And honestly, this would have been a great fucking intro to that story.
Yeah, and like at the beginning,
because if you had traded the roving gang rape, for a monster stalking the night in the gulag, and have that story be their inspiration to go and hunt this fucker, that would have been a really good creepypasta.
Yeah,
possibly even a good story. Whereas this is just, historical fiction. Again, it's shitty, but it's not creepy.
Yeah.
It's horrible, but it's not horror.
Yeah. There's dread in it, but there's no creep.
Yeah.
Aside from, the skeevy crap that's going through.
It's more depressing.
Yeah, it's less. It's less. Depressing is definitely like.
Yes, if you put me in this situation, I would be scared shitless.
Of course.
However, reading about it doesn't affect me on an emotional level.
Yeah. And for me, the most emotional level I got was just, I feel sad. Like, this is really shitty that this happened. This probably happened to some people, or to a bunch of people. But yeah, like, that's the problem I have with sometimes, and I feel like I don't want to say that this is possibly the reason this is the actual reason it got voted, but because it is a historical, kind of a touchier historical thing, or it's like historical subject, maybe that's why it got voted as much as it did. But I feel like this kind of story doesn't quite belong on Creepypasta.wiki so much as just like another fiction site.
I'm okay with this being on the site. I'm less okay with it being Pasta of the Month.
Yeah.
Because it's well written. Like, it's definitely competently written. So I don't think that it shouldn't be everywhere it can be.
Yeah.
I disagree with Pasta of the Month because this isn't the kind of story that people go to that website to read.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, like I was like...
However, I think lots of people should stumble upon it there.
Fair enough.
Which is why I'm okay with it being on the website, but not okay with it being Pasta of the Month, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, being one of those, like, hidden stories that isn't, like, the usual, like, creepypasta that's all about, like, a big, scary, like, supernatural thing. This one's, like, a little bit more down-to-earth, dark story.
It's because it's competently written that I think people should stumble upon it.
Okay.
Not because of the subject matter.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah.
You know how many incompetently written things we've covered on this show?
I'm going to guess maybe about 116.
So...
No, 114, maybe 13.
But this one is competently written,
yeah.
So, just again, it's just even more out of place on Pasta.wiki.
Yeah.
You want me to stop bitching about it? I need better pasta.
Yeah. Get on that, listeners. And me. But yeah. So, alright. There's not really else to say about this one. I'd recommend it as if you're into historical fiction. Or again, like you say, competent, right? Because it was a pretty good read. It just sucked to read. Yeah, exactly. And it is a shorter read, and it's a shitty situation that we're reading. So I mean, if you want to feel sad or like kind of have that like moment where it touches you, maybe
just watch the last 50 minutes of.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd recommend it because to give it a read, even if we don't consider it Creepypasta of the Month material, like it's still a good story. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. If you want to read basically a story that should be called A Day in the Gulag, go ahead. Otherwise, I would just stay away. Like, I mean, if you're like me and you just don't want to read about this shit because you've learned about it. You don't know everything. Like, I'm not going to try and say that I'm an expert on the world wars, Stalinism and all of that shit. But I know enough to know why the bad things that happened are bad things.
Yeah.
So I don't need to read this. I'm still a little pissed that I had to. But, yeah. So if you're like me, stay away. But if you actually want to read, I mean, if you've listened to this show and you're saying, man, that sounds like an interesting story, I would say go ahead. Because
there are.
I'm going to say it's well written. I don't care for the fucking story.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Like, I refuse to say anything bad about this, just that I don't care for it, but that's not because...
That's more personal preference.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Alright, and Mikey, E stands for evil?
I was expecting a monster.
Yeah.
And...
Well, with the title, man, Hunt the Gulag.
I know. Yeah, exactly. That's what got
me. The story that I described. Did you not want to fucking read that?
Yeah. And again, like at the beginning of it, like when we're seeing these terminal, like these goners, and like they're talking about this project that they're like this little project thing that they can't really talk about. I was expecting something like that to come up, but then it's just they're shitty radium diggers, and that's why they're terminal ill. Because that's something that Gulag sometimes did, was they made their prisoners dig up radioactive material. And that's probably what the Goners are all about. But yeah, it's just setting piece, and so it's just part of the historical shit that happened. But yeah, sorry. So with that in mind, with the whole fact that you were expecting a monster and didn't get one, how would you recommend this one?
Well, I'm not recommending it. As Dr. Leviathan pointed out, you get most of this stuff in history class.
Yeah.
But for us, it was more the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, Gulag, concentration camp, they're virtually the same thing. Granted, you can't even say that one's more horrible than the other, because they're both fucking so horrible that you don't try and quantify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're of the opinion that you didn't really care for the material because you've already gone through it, or you've already experienced it in the class. All right. So yeah, it really is. It really depends on what your opinion is. If you don't really care for historical fiction, don't read it. If you do, give it a read. So. All right, I guess that's this week's episode of El Dente Rigor Mortis. If you liked what you heard, if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, YouTube, Facebook, Tumblr. We're all on Twitter at E stands for Evil, Dr. Leviathan, and Review Cultist. You can leave us a review on iTunes or rank us. That would be really awesome of you. And you can send us an email at aldenterigormortis@gmail.com. That's ALDNTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. Also, if you'd like to check out the title cards for each episode, they are on Tumblr, crazonstudios.tumblr.com. And on most of the YouTube videos, because they're all the same image. Also, if you'd like, you can support us. Go to Patreon, Al Dente Rigor Mortis, and find whichever tier of donating you'd like to start at. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm still Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Mikey. The E stands for Evil.
This has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.
We're having a non-show.
It's for beverage.
We're having a non-show. I'm glad that's on recording. I got my bumper.
Oh, you're gonna get others.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get others.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get others.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get others.